Hello, and welcome to Into the Motiverse. I am Rosie Sherry. I am the host of this podcast, and I am the CEO and founder of Ministry of Testing, or as we like to call it, the Motiverse. And today I have Nataliia Burmei with us. She's been a member for quite a while now, and contributing in many formats, and it's kind of varied over the past 2 to 3 years, with articles, attending Test Bash or MotorCon, attending meetups, last year as an ambassador, and this year also stepping in to support MOT London, our meetup group, or chapter group, should I say, our chapters. So yeah, we've just rebranded meetups to chapters, and it's difficult to not call them meetups anymore. But yeah, hello Nataliia, and
Hi.
welcome to Into the Motiverse.
Hi, Rosie. I was so excited that jumped in front of you. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. Thanks for introduction. That was actually nice to hear. So much has happened. I'm Nataliia. I've been with Motiverse for a few years now. Loved it, and there's so much we did. There's so much we're still going to be doing, and I'm having the role of quality lead and building and kind of quality cultures and spreading testing across to help teams move smoother and faster with less production incidents.
Yeah,
That's what, of managing directors and CTO is asking. We want to decrease the production incidents. So yes, I agree with you. I also want to experience less with the apps I'm using it.
Yeah. And I wanted to speak to you today, and we were talking about what to focus on to talk about, and following your journey. You recently left a role and you started a new role, and the market is interesting. Interesting being difficult, and I think there's a lot of people that have anxiety around finding new roles, or questions around finding new roles. And I guess like a big part of what I like to do, or what I'm trying to do, is get the truth out there. Is get the stories out there of people who are living quality, who are living in tech, and just trying to go a bit deeper into that. So we thought it would be good to perhaps talk about a bit about your career journey, like where you're at now, and what has been your experience in looking for a new job in the current market. So would you like to say what's like your recent experience, I guess, in quality, and what led you to looking for a new role, and what that experience of looking for a new role has been?
Yeah, sure. It's been quite recent experience, so I can speak quite freshly. And I will start with a high note. It's not like I'm trying to sugarcoat to make things very positive, but the market is really, really better right now than it was even half a year ago or a year ago, right? So the amount of jobs is out there, it's increasing. So the roles, and I would say as well, salaries are getting better. Whilst, for example, half a year ago, when I was kind of considering changing, I saw some roles, but I was not happy with the package, right? So I thought it's not really enough paid for that job. So now it's kind of getting balanced, and a lot of roles are happening out there. Of course, it doesn't always mean it's easy to apply or get one, right? It doesn't always mean it works in all directions. And what a lot helped me as well, which I appreciate, I might be coming from different experience, like I wasn't made redundant, so the level of stress is not the same, right? The pressure is not the same while you are out of jobs and you looking for a job, right? So I was still on my role and I could search for another role. Although I'll come later to the point when I was not in my role, I was still looking for, right? And right, so all those things matter a lot. All those things kind of either maintain your confidence of getting new one or really kind of deepen your confidence, which like a very tricky game, like mental game with the confidence and your worth. So I find it's not always about skill, it's always about where you are in the mental space on the day you apply for the role, right? So, and that things could play really a tricky game with you, particularly if you were rejected or you were made redundant. You are in a very vulnerable situation, right? So, and that kind of mindset might not help you later. So, I would try to be kind of mindful of, if you made redundant, it doesn't mean you're not worth it anymore. It doesn't mean you lost your skills, although I appreciate it will knock your confidence, right? So that's the hard part, I think. Although throughout my journey, I understood that it's very hard to find for a new job when you're actually doing a full-time job, because it's not like in 2019 the jobs will come to you like on LinkedIn messages or somewhere else, and not even recruiters will be asking for CVs, right? So somewhere along the line you can pass their CVs, maybe I'll update later, so the process will kick off. Things has changed a little bit, right? So what a lot of people might find challenging, it's not the market itself or job itself and how it is actually switched, right? So you have to work, I think, put more efforts now to be at the place where you would spend much, much less effort in 2019, 18 and be in the same place, right? So the efforts level is not the same. So, for example, even to get the call back from recruiter or kind of have this first initial conversation, you need to have your CV in a state where it hits the other side. Like something needs to be there, like your achievements, what I did on CV. So I put a little bit of kind of like storyline, right? So it's not just the technology I listed, but things that I did, what I'm doing at the minute, right? So, and it was not like a one format. I was always refining little by little, finding a better word. So they always think about like, oh, let me see the CV, whether it makes sense or not, right? So always kind of circulating it from role to the role. And sometimes I would kind of tailor a little bit to the other role, right? Like just to understand a bit more better, like whether it would work for that role, like what is it looking for. And so all those things, they not like a one done task. So it's like your activities, right? So you have your portfolio and you have your CV a little bit like refining. I was like LinkedIn a little bit refining some other things. And I noticed that I have a gap in my technical things, right? So I don't have much things to show on the technical side, right? So I got all this great things on the Motaverse, had profile, but then I said like, don't have much like a GitHub. I don't have much to show tangible, like everything is tangible, right? But I need to have a balance, right? So I do kind of apply to recruiters, hiring managers, they're all different profiles of people. You need to have variety of your achievements and things to show. So, and I started building a little bit of those on a, it can be anything really. It can be, I even like did some exercise, some other things, and try like very simple for a playwright, like concept how you can authenticate, right? Like different, like 3 ways how you can authenticate with like Cypress, right? And either UI, your API. It doesn't need to be like whole framework, just a couple of concepts. So I started like throwing like imperfectly kind of ready code out there, right? So sometimes just to build up the stock to show it. So that one of the gap that I noticed. And then at some point, I understood if I really need to have a role that I really like, I need to put much more effort. And then there was the question of like, how do I do that? Like, do I spend my like time and evenings and weekends and maintaining both? At some point, it was quite hard to maintain both. And I kind of realized that I have things to trade off, right? And with the metaverse and a lot of things, I worked my network and experience and people I can Slack them and say, can I have a chat or can we have a look at the bug and those things? So I had a great network of people I can lean onto, right? So that was like the biggest, I think, difference from the previous times. And it gave me like a big confidence, and it gave me as well like a bit of reassurance that I know something, right? So that's like we're wondering a lot, but with exposure to community, like you're given and you're taken as well, you can have that judgment, right? So and that's what boosts my confidence, and things like people as well, all these achievements and values and your contribution also, like, and things that you put out there, particular things that you're giving, it's bringing you more confident that you're consuming, especially with me, right? So consuming is
Yeah.
great. I thought firstly that the more knowledge you consume, the better you feel, but actually when you give it and when you put something out there that is not only clear and understandable for you, but for other people, and they can respond to it in kind of different ways, even debatable ways, like they agree, don't agree, they want to discover a bit more. That's why you get the confidence, and particularly when you do new things, like you write an article or you do online session, right? When everyone is watching you, extremely intimidating. But after that, you come out much, much stronger and say like, well, if I
Yeah.
could show my testing skills in front of 50 professionals, testing professionals. So I guess showing my testing skills to 3 to 1 interviewer is not going to be that scary anymore, right? So
Yeah.
that's put into perspective. So yeah, back to the interviews. Honestly speaking, I never checked 100% what is on a job description. In a very intimate conversation, very often I ignore them at some point.
Uh,
um,
how did you choose which jobs to apply for? Did you have any criteria around jobs that sounded appealing or that you would put effort into, for example?
yeah, I'm still on this stage where I'd like to work on a companies that domain knowledge is interesting to me, right? So, and I have preference that I would work mainly like for startups and scale ups because, and at the moment, like it's either you have a privilege to choose, that's great, but if you don't, that's a harder challenge, right? So, unfortunately, that's a different path. So I would look at the size of the company because I work the best in mid and small companies. So for me, it's very hard to work in corporate with a lot of layers and things, decision making and things are quite slow, right? So some people are happy. So I would look at the size and as well like on the industry, what actually works for me. And I would look as well in the job description. I was always hoping to find a couple of sentences where you would kind of look for the quality professionals as a person who would come and help them with something or would come and accelerate or would help them to go to another level, right? So something that is not like transactional role, but more something creative or more leadership or something that we want to grow. So I was looking for ambition, right? So that I like to go. Not always I know how to get there. Like most of the times I don't, right? So that's something I would look for that. And there are some job descriptions that are really appealing, like it was one company and a fintech like scale up, and it was very open, like saying we're scaling and we're noticing the quality issues. We're not sure really how to tackle them at the minute, so we want someone who would come and help us figure out, and we want to focus on this area, and this area, right? And I really love this because that's just such an open-ended challenge, right? So, and that's so much for creativity. So those roles were like super kind of appealing to me, and I really wanted to be in that space. Um, and technology-wise, yes, you could use hours or bring anything that you think would be suitable. For technology as well, some people would find the challenge. So I think there is a couple of technologies, and like sometimes we don't know what to learn, but I think it also sometimes would depend on the industry and as well on the type of the own, how big your company will be, right? So, and I see the difference how startups and scale ups, they have one stack of technology that not necessarily will be the same in corporates, right? So one of the role searching tip could be for you, if you look for, I think, startup scale up, there will be more on a kind of like TypeScript, Node.js stack, Python, right? Quite a lot with data, like Java, and apps could be like Swift or React Native, right? I think the bigger companies, what I've seen in ads, it's slightly different. There would be could be even C sharp that I have zero knowledge with, right? Java, of course, and will be like Selenium or different kind of stacks, which I think will apply to corporate. Although, like my judgment is very subjective, right? So I just noticed the tech stack, or like where you lean, would slightly depend on the size of the company or industry. So I leaned towards like TypeScript and Node.js.
I also think, like, as you were talking and you were mentioning creativity, I don't think we talk about creativity enough, right? And the idea that, there's an option for creativity, or the opportunity for creativity to be seen in job specs, is interesting, especially when quite often they're so like skills focused. It's like you must have this set of skills, or you must have this set of experience. So this is what we're looking for. But for job descriptions to kind of have that creativity angle, not try to say, not try to map out the specific skill set, but like explain where the companies are right now with quality, and then people can decide whether they want to join in that journey as well. It's almost like trying to share the story to potential employees of saying, this is where we are, we need help, and can you come and help us? I think that's interesting, and maybe more job specs can be more balanced like that, rather than pretending to be all like companies know it all, or they know exactly what they want. But it's that two-way angle, which in today's market, it's like it's not an it's an employer's market, I guess. So they have more power, I guess, in what they can choose or who they can choose. Um, but like, I get excited about challenges, right? Or I get excited about how can I be creative to solve problems, right? Is this, I want to do work, and I want to understand the kind of work that I can do, and it's really hard to know that from job specs, I guess. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's like, partly it's like, can employers get better at doing that? Just saying a few words is like, this is where we're at, this is what we're looking for. and maybe that will appeal to certain people. But then there's also the other aspect is that yes, quality is a creative job as well. There's a lot of problem solving, and I'm not sure we really talk about that enough as a skill set, right?
Yeah, yeah. There are a couple of things I can add to this. Definitely, job description is notoriously boring. Like, I lose interest. Like, and that's why what I said. Sometimes I just ignore what they said below. Like, the second part of the job description is like, yeah, what my strategy was. It's like I want to talk to a human being and ask them like three questions. For example, particularly for hiring managers. First question that would help me understand what that is about is I'm asking hiring manager, how would you like this role to help you with? Or where would you like me on this role is a new or no help you with, right? So that would they give me a little bit of like real challenge behind what's this technology, right? Usually we don't talk much about technology unless it's kind of technical part. So that's one of the questions. They can give you some insights. The other part that I see, I ask not like directly. So I ask them, what's your biggest um, challenge in tech? If it's like someone on a senior leadership, or I would ask someone hiring manager, what's your biggest challenge in quality right now, right? So I can build up that kind of mind map or picture where they having the challenges or where they struggle or where they would possibly like to go next, even though they don't know yet they want to be there, right? But they see those challenges and possibly they solve, they will unlock some other level. um, that's one thing. And the third question I ask, what's the criteria of success for this role after 3 6 months, right? So that's I really kind of see from them how they see this role to be kind of perform in the next 3 months, what their expectations and whether it's aligned to us, right? Because how would I approach 3 6 months may be very different to them. And then I see whether we align of those things, whether there is creativity, whether there is just too much transactional. Like one of the reason I left my previous company like role because it became too transactional. Like I just could not hit my potential in transactional way. I just underperform, like, and it's very visible, right? So, which I know I could be very different. Not like I'm performing well, it's just the condition where I'm in does not unlock a full performance of creativity, whatever we can do, right? Um, so yeah, so that way, I hope we, I hope I do not have to solve a job description challenge at the minute. I think it's just a lot of like a hiring process remain the same, right? So you got recruiter either who work closely or do not work closely with department. They also work with different like hiring manager from different department. And they might have a different understanding what's the role for engineer as a developer, what the role for QA. Maybe they want to combine them to optimize the whole process, right? So I'm not sure yet. But those ones that tell the story, particularly those company will have a culture where they speak openly and they say, we know what we want, but we don't know how to achieve that, or we have a problem we don't know how to solve it. So we need someone. So they have this courage to say publicly, we need someone who knows more than we do or who are expert in that field so we can do our stuff when we're expert in other stuff rather than trying to be both, right? And those companies, I think, will have those roles. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's also interesting, just like as you're saying, also just like as you're asking questions as well, it gives that opportunity to have a conversation with the employer, and it gives you an opportunity to demonstrate your experience and knowledge and how you can contribute. So like just trying to have more understanding of where the companies are heading, and asking, like the questions around what are their biggest challenges, for example, would give you an opportunity to uh, share your own experience from that perspective, and share ideas, or demonstrate creative solutions, or ask the right questions, to see if they've considered certain things. And that's kind of like a way of demonstrating knowledge as well, or experience. It's like being able to hold a conversation around interesting challenges. But yeah, I wonder, like, when you were applying for jobs this time round, obviously, like, you say like the market's different. Like, where were you applying for jobs? What did you find was successful way of getting attention? And like, was it, for example, direct to employers? Was it on LinkedIn? Was it via recruiters? And how was the experience of getting responses? Because I've seen a lot of people say, like they apply for roles and they get no responses, or they're rejected by AI, automatically, or within half an hour they get rejected or something. I saw someone else recently saying there's now interviews with AI. It's like AI interviews is like the first round of interviews. And I'm like, oh my goodness. The world is that wasn't the 2019 experience, right? So I'm curious to say, what was your experience this time around? What was working? What wasn't working? What was like, did AI get you in any way?
Yeah, I didn't have the one. I know someone who had it, had AI interview, and I was about to test. There is a startup, but I think I just was carried away from somewhere. Yeah, I got. So I would never know, I think, the real reason of like getting responses or getting rejected. So I can just maybe guess. So, like I said, I was always tailoring my. So with jobs that I was applying, very often I was reading carefully what kind of like are the expectation, or where I can find what they're looking for beyond like tools and technology, right? Those things I would skip. So I try to find what they're really looking for. Like, for example, they would say we want to build up a new function, right? So that's the role. There was one role when they wanted to build up a new function, and that would be my main point on either tailoring my CV a little bit because I already had that experience, right? Or there was a company who scaled up and they faced the quality testing issues, right? So things were a little bit out of kind of unstructured way of doing it, too much unstructured. So I would focus like my narrative, and particularly many job description had a cover letter or message to hiring manager, right? So I would write my own words, even with my imperfect English and kind of grammar, but I would focus on things that I look for. Hopefully, in job adverts, there will be something, at least one sentence, what the role is about, right? So I already knew, like, for example, that would get less traction for the roles of managing a big team because I don't have that much experience, right? I did not lead team of 20 testers, let's say, or 50, right? So those ones, although I would still apply, but my message would be, I have experience leading like smaller team up to 5, 6, and I have I quite a quick learn and have a big support of people to ask for help. So I think I would be able to ramp up with the right support and environment, right? So I would tailor my message in a way of potential, right? Although there was a hard moment on the market when I thought that companies do not hire for potential right now, right? So they hire for exact skills where you need to come and do stuff. So they don't have enough time or budget to grow the talent, right? That was, I think, half a year or a year ago. It was really hard to find a role for potential, which means you didn't hit 100% of everything. You can learn as fast, but it's still hard to get. Now, I think there are roles that are higher for potential, right? So it's not only like you need to be matching everything or be on a role and apply to the same role, right? So there is a way that you can still tailor your message, right? So that was the one main thing. I would always write my own words in cover letter, or message to hiring manager, or whoever asks, like, why do you think you would be suitable person? Why do you think we will miss out not hiring you, right? So sometimes I would be like very strict, very strict and direct, like, you're missing out of great leader who understands quality holistically, who can have a conversation with anyone in a team, who can scale your quality or build. So things like you really sometimes things the self-promotion is not great, but you have to self-promote yourself ruthlessly, right? So, and that would work because some employers, they really want to know right away why you're a great hire without shame. Like, it's a shameless plug, right? So you have to be. So modesty does not apply here. Obviously, it needs to be kind and respectful. But if you can lead a team of 20 people, if you can build up the function from scratch, if you can build up framework from scratch, and or you can, whatever your strengths, play with your strengths. Like, I always played with my strengths. My husband gave me this advice. You will always have a chance to improve your weaknesses, but you need to put your strengths forward first, right? And then play with them, and then work on your areas of gaps, right? But your best card is your strengths. So even though you might know, but people will love it what you can bring. They won't be looking for things that you can't, right? So
What
uh,
would you say your strengths are? Examples of strengths, I guess.
I
Yeah.
can have a bird view eye, and I can kind of see things holistically in a very quick way, and I can show the whole picture, right? And I will dive in inside, like deeper if I need to, right? So my strength is like I can start quality from customer support and finishes in post-release monitoring, right? So all those gaps, I can manage how to kick off. I can find the gaps. I can find solutions. I can come up with small experiments. I can implement them, right? So I can do end-to-end thing with little support from other people. But I'm kind of able to lead them through, right? So that's possibly like would be my strength. And then also, like, I will say that I learned really quick because I'm self-taught, right? And I say always, it's fine if you have using different technology. I'm technology agnostic because, as a tester, like one day you work with Java, another day you work with TypeScript,
Yeah.
so or JavaScript. What do? You just adapt very quickly, and you're open about that and say, like, it will take me a bit of time, but I'm sure I'll get there.
Yeah. I actually loved hearing you talking about your strengths because, like, as you were saying them, I was like, I would hire you if I was, looking for a quality person. After you explain like all your strengths and what you can do and what you're good at, I'm like, yeah, I I, I want you on my team. If I was hiring you, I'm not sorry, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it shows how powerful it is to focus on your strengths, right? It's like this is what I can do. This is what I'm good at, and perhaps it's as a strategy to get a job, it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, always play with the strengths. I mean, yeah, that's one of the advice. Like, yeah, and like you show like even like if you as well like this question like what people would miss if you don't hire you, right? If you can work in a reverse way, like reverse engineering, right? Know what would they benefit, what they would lose, right? Sometimes my brain, for example, works with the anti-goals. It's called like anti-goals, things that I don't want, because sometimes I don't know what I want, or what the next company I want, but I know very well from previous experience what I wouldn't like to have next time, right? So I wouldn't like to have transactional ways of working. And then you build up the opposite. I would like to have more creativity, right? So if you're looking for your next role, you're not sure you want to do, or people were saying, what testing is not hard. Maybe I should go and do like engineering. Like, would you like to sit all day and code, right? Like, and basically do what someone tells you to do, right? So I'm not sure. Like, I want to all day sit in front of IDE and do this stuff, right? That sometimes you have to imagine what it would be like.
Yeah. What would you say are skills that you feel like employers are looking for at the moment? And like, if you know, compare it to like 5 years ago, like 2019, if we're going with that, the theme of 2019, it's like what has changed? Um, and yeah, I guess hopefully it's like it might help other people see where they should be investing their skills or
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. There are always like two sides, like a core skill and as well as technical skills. So on a core skill, I would say they look for confidence. And at least in my experience where I was applying for jobs, they look for confidence and being able to talk to developers, to PMs, right, in a way that is concise and clear. Um, right, that's maybe because my role would be leadership role. That I would say, but I would say confidence and voice in a collaborative way. On the technical side, interesting that for the roles that I was applying for quality lead, there was not much like technical or like coding or like how it would be like for as that. I was on one interview that I failed. We can talk about like how I failed an interview, right? When you go on and do like online pairing up or people watching you, there hasn't been that much, but I think there is breadth of technical skills you need to have, right? Or things like a technical conversations is quite deep. A lot of on the lead roles they look for your strategy and thinking, right? Like sometimes like why we have problem with quality or testing is like we don't do it enough, or we're not doing in the right place, right? And figuring out the right place of doing right testing is quite hard, right? And if you're like developer or PM or your engineer managers, you won't have that much time. So they want someone who can go and figure out being technical and suggest solutions, not necessarily you're doing yourself, right? One of the role that I was applying for staff engineer, there was no technical interview, although you're staff engineer, but there was figuring out and where and how, and not necessarily doing yourself. That was even one of the question, how do you understand staff engineer role, right? So doesn't mean you will do yourself, but you would need to have a deep conversation with your team, and you need to work out that yourself and do research to talk about, let's say, contract testing to all details, right? Like how you do that, how you implement, what's the benefits, what's the other stuff, right? So you have to be really clear and really strong on that side. Implementation comes after. So yeah, I think it's breadth and being able to and kind of have a clarity what's the benefit and why would you do that, rather than like, you write API tests, like, cool, everyone talks about that, but like, what is actually given us in our context for our app? And you should be able to explain very clearly why doing API test is beneficial for your app, for your context, right? With the specific details. Why can't you do something else? Or why you can't and absolutely not do that? Like, if you're not doing it, what's going to happen, right? So I think that's why I want to. And I would love to have as well people in my team, if I hire someone who can bring that voice and have an equal conversation with developers and have a debate and have this. There is this British ping pong player who was Olympic champion. He has this definition of creative friction, right? It's not that
Okay.
friction that wastes our time. It's that friction that creates innovation, that creative, like when you come with proposal and someone is challenging you, like, why do you think the API test is beneficial? He explained to me in a way that we have a conversation, and then they challenge you and they say like, well, yeah, maybe that's not the way, and you still leave the room in respectful way and saying like, okay, we need to work out different, but that's creativity, right? That's creative
Yeah.
friction. You come up with solutions that work and everyone is super clear like what it is, and there is no later the stage of buy-in, like a lot of questions on the interview for leadership role. I'll jump in on the questions. How would you sell, or like how would you approach buying to strategy or team leadership, right? A
Yeah.
lot of things like this. And my take on it is like, why do we need to sell to each other something? Because possibly we did not work together before, right? Because possibly I work, let's say I'm having this idea of selling my strategy to head of engineering or even my team of the quality strategy, and I have to convince them and have to buy in so we can work towards the strategy. So possibly if I have this time, if I work hard on it, it's like a month I'm trying to convince people that's a good way to go forward. It would mean I worked in isolation on my own for some certain amount of time. I did not share it to anyone, did not discover gaps on the collaborate. So I came up with something that is unknown to people, and I'm trying to convince them that this is the good strategy, right? And this is the good way. And of course, there would be a different kind of level pushback, understanding different times, right? So one of the questions was, well, if you had a hard time, you have to go back and redo, like, and reapproach how we're doing things, because we need to collaborate, we
Yeah.
need to start together, we need to build this strategy together, we need to anyone who will be using it should be already onboarded from day one, from the question like, what's our challenge, what's your challenge on a day-to-day basis, right? And you collect that data and you build strategy that solve the challenges of everyone in a team. And when you come to the point of buy-in, people already know about it. They know what you work towards. They know what you're trying to solve. Their problems are factored into your strategy, right? So I explained to that, and I never know if company likes that my approach or not, right? Because sometimes I'm a bit like, there was a question like, how would you approach a testing ticket that is empty? You don't have a context, or you don't have anything written.
Yeah.
Uh, if I go with mine, I was like, well, you need to ask yourself, why do you have empty tickets? Like, why are testers are having empty tickets? But you have to be well. You have to be candid. Like if you read the book Radical Condor, but you have to be also like find the balance, right, on the interview, because um, it's interview is an acting kind of stage, right? So you find what works for you, and the company also find what works for them, right? So, and you don't have that balance, you might be a bit too disruptive, or you might be a bit as coming as a abrasive. Uh, but yeah, so like those things, like sometimes that happen. Sometimes you have to, like, imagine if you had that ticket, what would you do, right? Even though it's not your preferred approach, and you try to apply your creative mind, and but yeah, so lots of lots of those temptation have, like, well, it's just like, maybe figure out why is empty. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I love everything that you said there. And as you were talking about it, I was thinking, well, there's different roles, right? You can be an implementer type role, more hands-on, testing, coding, whatever, and then maybe it's more of a leadership role where you're doing all these things, you're being more creative, you're researching, you're having conversations, and I just found it really interesting as you were talking about what you do. I'm like, this sounds like a really cool job, right? And I'm like, being a quality engineer or a quality leader is actually quite a fun job, especially like I think like where the world is going, rather than saying you're a test lead, is that you're a quality lead. And the more we talk from that kind of perspective, or the quality engineering perspective, or like the systems thinking way, that I feel like a lot of companies are starting to think like that. And then you start talking about your role and the creative angle and all the opportunities to contribute. It just makes me feel really positive about the future of quality, to be honest, that there's so much potential and so much fun to be had should we choose to look at it that way. And I think that's cool, and I wasn't thinking like this in 2019. I was a bit bored of testing. I was like, where is this, where are we going? um but now, with this lens, I think, no, it's actually super interesting where we are heading, and the potential with that um is pretty big. And perhaps if we're looking at it from a recruitment career perspective, is like, how can we, as a community of quality professionals, just be more creative, be more positive, get more excited, and understand that, like, we've got a lot to give. And if we can express that in our CVs or in our interviews, hopefully that will help us stand out a bit more, and help get the job, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can relate to you. I got bored of testing at some point in my career, right? And I was wondering whether it's going to be that way. And then I think I was in this company where they gave a total freedom to everyone. And there was a moment when I was not doing testing, like there was a moment I was doing something else, but I think I discovered the creative angle of testing, or creative angle as an activity, not at like a task checker, right? This is why we have to be mindful if it's becoming like task list. That's where you just doing tasks, not like your whole activities. That could be just having some workshop with the people, or like something that is not testing related, but you discover so many things. But yeah, that's a lot. And I think, yeah, the main message, developing within ourselves, right? And like spreading so many things, like in Motiverse, like I love bands, software testing live, where necessarily you can test something, but you can just like be creative, or any other things, right? It's so many things we do. I had some thought that I was missing, but oh yes, about the job. It's very important that you apply for the right role, right? And I appreciate it could be like time, or kind of financial pressure, that you should pick up any role because of your situation. But things like, if you apply in a different type of role, you will find that boredom, or you will lose what you're really looking for. Right? Some people really like technical and they just not a facilitator, they don't enjoy that, so they will go for as that. One thing, you have to fail interview to apply for own jobs, which a while ago I applied for as that and miserably failed. And this role never appealed to me, right? I still don't know for sure what's the core job for as that. I think it's so varied, so or some other roles, and figure out what works for you. I think I kind of on a path where I'm figuring out. So, and I know it needs to be strategic, creative, but also like hands-on, right? And one of the common question I struggle to tell recruiters, what's my ratio of like 50-50 automation, 50 something else. I'm like, I try to explain to them that automation, any other technology is my tool to solve problem, but sometimes doesn't come across, right? So this is why I find challenge, right? We find challenge to pass that barrier and kind of maybe you try to explain your perfect role to people who are not in that mindset yet, and then you just sometimes you don't progress because you can't answer the question that they're looking for, right? Sometimes market is not ready for you to find the role. They want your answers to kind of satisfy their questions, right? So because I never know what's my ratio. It could be weeks that I'm sitting and developing something, but it could be weeks that I'm figuring strategy and trying to understand what's the ways of working in our team, right? Or something else. Never measured that. But like I kind of understood what my kind of role that I perform the most, right? So I need to have strategic thing because I really know and I want to plan and I want to take a company or my team to next level, right? And I want to do that as well myself. Some people are just happy doing things and following someone else, right? Which is absolutely fine as well, right? You might just find harder to apply for role if it has strategic angle. Some people just love as that's the role. They just sit and then just go dive, and whatever happens next year, it happens next year. Or if you go somewhere else, yes, I'll build you another framework capabilities what you need me to do, but I absolutely do not want to think about what is the next step, right? So, and that's fine.
Yeah. How have you found? 'Cause I feel like a big part of this is like building up confidence. What advice would you give to anyone looking to build up their confidence?
I'm possibly gonna give advice that you won't like it much, but it's definitely working. When you have an energy and when you're in the right space, just do hard things, right? Or do scary things. Like do that interview with online pairing up session. Even though you know you're absolutely scared, I'm scared as well of them, right? If you know it's your weakest point, if you know you're not gonna pass, but you just do it, right? So do the things that you always scare or hard for you. You might not succeed at first time, but that's fine. And I think if you do it once, you will go the second time, right? So, and then you will succeed second time. The confidence as well comes with community and sharing your knowledge. So early in my career, I thought consuming things would give me more confidence. I would have more knowledge. I would know many things. But actually giving it back, what it builds up the confidence of I learned like while right to give back, but also confidence that someone will understand what I understand, someone might apply skills that I apply. It gives you confidence that you mastered some area of your role or your testing activities where you enjoy, right? So it gives you that idea, okay, I'm doing it well, and I can teach other people, right? So which means gives me confidence. Sometimes, like, as well, like a social reassurance, right? We're all like human, and like having reassurance from each other helps me, right? Like, it's not like validation, but reassurance that you do the right thing, or you do like valuable things that find reflection in other people's experiences or what they've been looking for, right? So you're not just learning and kind of having things and it goes into the void, right? It goes to real people and they find it useful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess like in the multiverse, one of the things that I'm trying to get better at explaining to people is like a big part of what we're trying to do is build that confidence in people. And they might not even realize it, but like just inviting people to do things or encouraging people to do things. We have a phrase of like always be inviting, so we're trying to get better at building processes to invite people in and build upon that. And I think like you've experienced that over the past 2 or 3 years. It's like we keep, we invite you for one thing and then you do it, and then a few weeks or a few months later we invite you for something else, and that's all confidence. Even just having the conversations to make it happen helps build confidence, right? Um, so yeah, I guess it's just maybe to wrap up here, it's kind of thinking like the multiverse is here to give confidence through community, and that for us is community as a service. It's like this is our service to the community, where there's value in what we're doing, but it's not traditionally what's always valued, or people don't realize the value of it. And yeah, just trying to keep building, keep improving, keep supporting people. And I think you're an amazing example of what happens when you do contribute to community. You do build confidence, but that's off your own back as well. It's like you stepping up for the challenges as well. Um, and yeah, I guess in the Multiverse we have a job board. So for anyone listening, do check out our job board if you're looking for a new job. It's ministrytesting.com/jobs. And we also have some cool features, in my opinion. You can mark yourself as open to work. You can mark yourself as open to review CVs. So there's a bunch of people in the community who have done that. And if you're a pro member, then you can access the whole list. Otherwise, it's a case of when you go to visit people's profiles, you can see what they're open to. But as a pro member, you can browse a whole list of people who are open to a whole bunch of things. You can be open to write, open to speak. But yeah, I'm just mentioning open to work and open to reviewing CVs because that's relevant for today. But yeah, this conversation, Nataliia, thank you very much. It's been amazing to catch up with you. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the multiverse.
Thank you so much, Rosie. See you in multiverse.
Awesome.